Hey guys, Dozer here bringing you a new video. With the release of Silver Age just the other day with the 6th anniversary video from LSS, we got confirmation that the Project Blue format is going to be making its way to live, right? To be released coming soon. So Silver Age is what it's called. And so, of course, this is the Prism channel. We wanted to make a stab at making a Prism deck list. And it's interesting. Silver Age, for those who don't know, is based on Project Blue, which is a beta-tested thing that LSS was doing to let you use commons and rares only to make your decks. So they're trying to make a budget, entry-level format for all these players that are new to the game, as well as for entrenched players who want to have a new way to use their cards in their collections that may have been sitting in boxes for some time. So Silver Age is looking to be a potentially interesting format. It's not clear that every character is going to be equally usable, of course, but it is interesting to look at the card pools once again and see, are the common cards that we are used to using still the best ones, or are there any new standouts that are really going to be giving us a lot of value? And so this is a first pass at a Prism deck. I tested it just briefly the other minute, and it functioned decently. And so I wanted to kind of walk you through kind of what we're working with when Prism only has access to rares and commons. Notably, the Prism Advent of Thrones, which is the Prism that can get figments out of the deck, is not legal in Project Blue. She's currently the current Prism in CC, the young version of her, is not playable in this format. The reason for that is that the hero only exists at Majestic, and so you just can't play it. And that makes sense. The Prism in question, the figments are all Majestics, and so you couldn't even really function in this format anyway. But with the original Prism, you've got 20 life. For those who may be newer to the game, her ability is very simple, and it says once per turn, as an instant, you can pay 2 to banish a card from your soul and create a Spectral Shield token. Now, we all know Spectral Shield tokens. These are your auras on the board that prevent one source of damage if you were to take damage. So you can't choose not to lose them, but they are effectively floating HP or shielding. And so it's interesting because Prism historically has been a hero that likes to utilize these shields for damage with her original weapon, Luminaris. And then in more recent times, she has been using her hero ability to create more defensive angels and things like that. But what's interesting about Prism and the OG Prism here, in the context of Silver Age, is that she doesn't really get a lot of value out of her hero power. Your herald's hitting just goes to soul and doesn't really do much for you on a positive value front. So we're really not going to be using that ability very often. However, what this does allow us to do is use some of these equipment pieces. So the Radiant cycle is Radiant View, Radiant Raiment, Radiant Flow, and Radiant Grasp, I think. Or let's see here, it's not on there. Anyway, it's the hands. But anyway, you have one in each slot potentially, and it lets you banish a card from your soul and prevent the next 2 damage that you'd be dealt this turn. So effectively, it's 2 armor if you can get soul. And so that's not amazing value in CC or in Living Legend or anything, but being able to get value off of your herald's hitting by essentially unlocking free armor is quite good, especially because it does cover breakpoints. And one of the things Prism has always struggled with is the fact that she really has to run a lot of 3 blocks and not a lot of 4 blocks, especially since 4 blocks are very premium in Silver Age. Having access to an onboard potentially 6 armor is quite good. A lot of characters are very happy to run their Blade Beckoner suite for that same reason, and you could even potentially run all 4 for a total of 8 armor, which is very good, especially because you can happen all at one time and doesn't have the conditions that the Blade Beckoner series does. So it's a potentially relatively powerful set of common level equipment. However, because Prism does not have access to any sort of efficient action point generation, if she gets popped, we are going to be using Dream Weavers because we are going to make sure that one of our heralds does actually get to hit this game. And so Dream Weavers is very good at doing that. So of course, the weapon we will be using is Luminaris Celestial Fury in the primary slot here. You could use some, though actually very few Illusions weapons. There's only 3 that are legal in this format. There is the generic, that is. There's Cosmo, which is Enigma's primary weapon. which is a consideration, but I'm not really on that build right now. This is the Luminar's retrain that we got in Dusk Till Dawn. And it was very weak then, and it's still weak now, obviously in CC, but because it's the best we've got, it does reward us for building our deck full of heralds, because we do get access to Go Again by paying 2 resources. While that's a very expensive effect, being able to have 14 damage turns in Silver Age seems pretty good. So Luminar's Celestial Fury will allow us to get some value out of our turns and reward us for building very blue heavy lists. So that is the starting point here. To that end, we will be running a lot of Herald cards. We will be running every single copy of every blue Herald, because there's very few good blue cards that block 3 and synergize with Prism's kit. So it's pretty slam dunk, all the blue Heralds in there, as well as some red ones like Herald of Protection, Herald of Tenacity, Triumph, and War Tomb Herald. Notably, Herald of Triumph is a tremendous inclusion for Silver Age Prism. Commoner Prism felt really terrible because if you got popped, you really didn't have any recourse. You actually couldn't run any Spectras at all because they're all rares. And so because Silver Age lets us play a lot more rares now, we do have the ability to play things like Haze Bending, Passive Mirage, Pierce Reality in our blue base, as well as having Parable of Humility, Ode to Wrath, and Merciful Retribution in our sideboard. So that is really nice for us, and we do appreciate that greatly. And because we do have access to all these rares, we are less prone to just getting popped, and we can stack more damage from things like Angelic Wrath on our Heralds of Triumph to make big damage. Another reason this is really a big deal is that Sink Below and Vapor Scene and similar cards are very much either hard to come by or banned. The premium defensive cards are not really accessible in Silver Age, and so when you are using your attack reaction type effects like Angelic Wrath, you will be pretty confident that you will actually get to hit and unlock that soul to unlock your armor pieces. So that is quite nice. Herald of Protection is kind of the middle ground between the two builds, because I think you can try to pivot between the Herald and the Aura game plan. A Herald of Protection gives you that extra Spectral Shield, which helps you either swing your weapon of Iris of Reality, or you could potentially just heal 1 when you hit, and that's a pretty good effect. A 2-card 8 is pretty good. That potentially gets Go Again, not bad at all. And so, of course, we are worried about getting popped by Phantasm effects, and so we do have Celestial Reprimand as a blue card. Again, this allows us to more reliably get wide turns as well as fuel our turns. And as a reaction, it can help us push damage through, and we're very happy about that by not getting popped and doing damage over the base block. However, one card that we never actually see in CC because it's never been really strong enough is Celestial Resolve. In a format, again, with very few defensive cards, having Celestial Resolve as a way to get around Dominate or block really tall things in conjunction with your Radiant armor pieces allows you to actually get value out of this card for once. It's a blue 3 block that is a reaction speed, so pretty good for Prism to run here. Since we are running so many Heralds, we are running 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 16, 22, 20, what is that? Anyway, over half your deck is Heralds. So Celestial Resolve, if it's ever going to be good, it's going to be good here. And then to round out the base list, we do have those blue Spectras. Blue Spectras are 2-block blues, which you could play, such as Passive Mirage to help, again, get around Phantasm, as well as Pierce Reality, which can give you recurring attack buffs on your Herald, so pretty good. Especially if you attack with a War Tomb Herald, you can pitch a blue card, give it Go Again with the 2 floating, and then drop any of your good Spectras, so that's a pretty efficient play you can do there. At the same time, we do have one playset of Spears of Surreality. This is a really old card out of Monarch. That's just a 5-attack Go Again card for 1 resource with Phantasm. So if you are confident that you're not going to get popped, then you can save this card. You can pitch a blue, swing with this into a Herald, and you can do 5 and potentially 7 off 3 cards, which is very good for this format. At the same time, you can block with it for 3, which is why we're not running Phantasmify. Prism, in this case, doesn't get a lot of value out of hitting that often, and so unless you're trying to go for a big Dominate attack, like with your Herald of Tenacity, you're not really going to get a lot of value out of going tall. You're putting a lot of your eggs in one basket in that case, so cards like Phantasmify are not necessarily the best of cards to be banking all of your marbles on. However, Angelic Wrath is a very different story because it's non-committal. As a 0 for 4, it fits much better in with your cost curve, even though like you're losing that 1 potential damage that you could have gotten on a Phantasmify. By tricking again over your opponent's blocks, you're going to get a lot of value out of that where they don't really expect it. So Angelic Wrath is quite good, actually, I think, instead of Phantasmify because of that evasion of being non-committal, right? It's kind of like your pummel. And so, yeah, it's all heralds. We don't want to, except for the Spheres of Seriality, we don't want to miss on our herald synergy cards because we do run about 12 of those. And notably, Spheres of Seriality does get buffed by Pierce Reality or by Passing Mirage, so that is really nice. And Haze Bending and similar and such cards are less impactful and effective during a Herald matchup, but when you do pivot to, say, the Aura matchup, it gets very costly for certain decks to attack these, and you can run the Iris of Reality to leverage that heavy blue base in order to attack your opponents with your Spectras. And we all know how Spectra spam goes with Prism. In the old days, it's not as strong here as it was then, but it's still pretty good. And it's worth noting that Astral Etchings is a card I've included here. I think it's really interesting. You can basically have an attack reaction that buffs a Spectral Shield that you control, because Spectral Shield is going to be the only ward aura that you have in this list. And you can give yourself a Spectral Shield at any time with your hero power, as long as you have 1 soul. So the idea is that you would, say, pitch a blue to swing with a Spectral Shield, and then your opponent would, or you could just make it, right? You could pitch blue to make a Spectral Shield, attack with it by pitching another blue card, and then play Astral Etchings to make it come in for 4. And if your opponent, obviously, well, they might take some extra damage because they're not expecting the +3. So the Iris Reality base power is 4, so you'd be coming in for 7 off 3 cards, heal 1, so 3 card 8, not great. But if your opponent fails to kill your Spectral Shield, it retains the buff counters. So next turn, you could pitch a blue, swing 7 again, and so you've created a very strong weapon. As long as you can block, say, 9, and you block out your opponent's turn, maybe use your Radiance as well to cover up the attack, that's pretty good. Not bad at all. So Astral Etchings is a nice little card here to have that as a backup. And so, yeah, that's just the first take at a Prism deck list. Obviously, we love deck building on this channel, and it's very fun to think about how we can use the cards that we have been using for so long to try and contest the new arena that we're going to be going into. However, I'm not going to vouch for this thing's competitive viability. There are a lot of very powerful heroes that are very kitted out in the common slot and rare slot, so Prism may not be the best in that case, but she at least can play something that resembles her CC and Living Legend playstyle, and so I hope that you enjoy getting to try out Silver Age, and I hope that we can have lots of Prism discussion to figure out how best we can try to make this hero playable in this new format, because I would really like to use my Prism cards in this format as well. So I hope you enjoyed the quick video. I hope you get to try some Silver Age, and let me know what you think of the deck list in the comments below. Let me know if you've had a different approach, such as with the Cosmo Tapestry of Ancestry, because that could be another good way to leverage a blue base as a switchboard weapon, and you could run more of those ward cards from Mistveil. But until then, have a good one, and I'll see you in the next video.